Okay, guys, we're going to be talking about transformations. There are there are four types of transformations we're going to cover in this unit. There's translations, reflections, dilations, and rotations. So we'll start with translations. Translations are, I think, they're probably the easiest one because all you're doing in a translation is moving a figure up or down, right or left. So if we start with this first triangle here, we're going to move it up. Looks like we're moving it up 2 units, and we're moving it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So that's all we're doing here. Moving the triangle up 2 units and to the left 6 units. So when we talk about translations, that's all it is, just moving it up, down, left or right. The second type is reflection, and a reflection is exactly how it sounds. We're taking a figure and reflecting it as if it were looking in a mirror. So we can reflect it across a line. Usually we reflect it across an axis. So this figure is being reflected across the y-axis. So as we reflect it across the y-axis, we see how their coordinates correspond. So if we look at point A and point A prime, we see that point A is 1. So this is 7 here. So it's 1, 7. This is 1, 7. And over here we have negative 1, 7. Okay, this one will be 2, 3. Right here is 2, 3. So over here is a negative 2, 3. So they're reflecting across from each other as if looking in a mirror. And you don't just reflect across y-axis. You can reflect across an x-axis. You can reflect across any given line. Okay, you can reflect across x equals 2. So right here, this line is x equals 2. I can take this figure and reflect it across x equals 2. Or I can reflect across y equals 2. So this line here is y equals 2. I can take this figure and reflect it across y equals 2. That's also another way that you can reflect. But basically you're taking the figure and it's like you cause it to look into a mirror and reflect itself. Our third type is dilation. So dilation, you're taking a figure and you're dilating it by some factor. So if the factor, so a factor in this case would mean a number. So if the number is any number that's greater than 1, then our figure is going to get larger. If the factor is less than 1, then our figure will get smaller. So if I'm looking at, so let's see, here are our points here. So we have 0, 1.5. So 0 and 1.5. So that's our first point. And we are dilating it. So from this figure, you can't just tell right away what we're dilating it by, what factor. But I see that 1.5 is going to 3. So to get from 1.5 to 3, I have to multiply 1.5 by 2. And same here, if I'm looking at B, it's going from negative 1 to negative 2, and I have to multiply that by 2 to get from negative 1 to negative 2. So I can see just by my coordinates that I'm dilating this figure by a factor of 2. And if I were to work backwards, let's say I was going to go from my red triangle to my blue triangle, instead of dilating by a factor of 2, I'm going from 3 to 1.5, I'm dilating by a factor of a half, because 3 times a half is 1.5. So you here can see a dilation of a number greater than 1 from our blue figure to our red figure. And from our red figure to our blue figure, we see a dilation of a factor that's less than 1. And I'm going to give you guys some examples of all of these. Our next is rotation. Our last one that we're going to talk about is rotation. And we're taking one figure here and rotating it as if it's on a wheel or a spinner. It rotates. And so when something rotates, it's kind of changing even its shape, so it looks a little different. So you have to picture it in your mind as it turning or spinning on a wheel or something. So this one is being rotated by 90 degrees. And we can see our 90-degree angle here. So this was my current B, and it's being rotated against the origin by 90 degrees. So if I connect it to this point, and 90 degrees over here, I see that I have B prime, my new point for B. So again, this one you have to kind of visualize. We're going to use a tool called Geogebra to help us understand these transformations. So when you go to Geogebra, you can start by Googling Geogebra, just like so. You'll click on Geogebra Classic. And we'll go to Geometry over here. Click on Geometry. And I like to see my lines, so I'm going to click on this part. That's not it. Okay. There we go. Sorry, you click on this little one here. All right, and I would like to have a grid. A grid and my axes. Okay, so I'm just going to start by drawing a shape. So in order to draw a shape here, I go up top and I find my polygon tool. So I'm just going to draw a simple quadrilateral. There we go. We got a trapezoid here. So here's my trapezoid. And I'm going to start by just doing a translation. So in order to do a translation, I'm going to come up here to this section. And it says translate by vector. So